Hello students, welcome to Pathak's Computer Academy online classes. In the previous video, we learned about operators in Python. Today we will see various data types in Python and what are the statements in Python. So let's start. So the content today we covered, as we know that introduction to data types. After that, we will discuss various types of data that can be stored, and then discuss about mutable versus immutable, the difference between them, and then we will discuss type conversion, and at last, what are the statements in Python and what is expression in Python, we will discuss. So let's start. So as we know that data types are the classification, or you can say that categorization of data items. Data can be an integer type. Data can be of decimal numbers. Data can be of mix up of character and number. Okay. So variables that can hold values, and that value has a data type. Clear? As we know that everything in Python is an object. That's why Python is object-oriented programming language. We already discussed. Thus, data types are actually classes, and variables that we are creating are the instance. Instance means object of that class. Clear? So, one feature of Python is that Python is a dynamically typed language. What it means? In C or C++, how could you declare variables? With the help of data types. You write something like that. Int A equal to 5. So here compiler creates an storage space for integer naming with A, and value will be stored as 5. So here you have to specify the type of data that are going to be stored. But in Python, there is no need to specify the type of data that are going to be stored. Simply, you have to use or declare the variable like this. A is equal to 5. And based on the value supplied by you, the interpreter of Python implicitly binds the value with its type, that is integer. So A of integer type dynamically. So I think it is very clear why Python is dynamically typed language. Okay. So move on further. Now, Python provides various standard data types that define the storage method on each of them. Here we will discuss one by one separately: numbers, dictionary, Boolean, set, and sequence type. Two functions you have to memorize. First one is type function, which is used to know the data type of the variable. If you want to fetch which type of data type is that variable, then you have to use type function. And similarly, is instance function is used to verify or check whether an object belongs to a particular class or not. Okay, I will use these methods in upcoming slides. Don't worry. So, the first one, integer. The value is represented by int class. It contains positive or negative whole numbers without fraction or decimal. In Python, there is no limit to how long an integer value can be. You have learned in C language that there is a limit, okay, from 65356 plus minus. That is the limit of int. But here in Python, there is no such limit. So here I have given the example a is equal to 5. Because of the dynamically typed language, a will become an integer data type or integer variable. I have used the method type. So the output should like this: class int. Clear? So a is an object of class int. I think it is very clear to you. I'm going to show you with the practical approach. Here, a is equal to 10. So if I try to print that value is printed. Okay. Now I am going to use what is the type of a variable. Here you can see that object. You have to supply object name. So I am going to press enter. Here you can see that it is the variable or object of class int. Clear? Now move on further. Now I'm going to discuss floating point numbers. So whenever you use fractional value like 4.2, then it will become float object of class float. It is a real number with floating point representation, which means decimal point. Other than this, you can use small e or capital E followed by a positive or negative integer. Clear? For scientific notation. These are used by the scientific purpose. Clear? So here you can see that I have written down 4.2. The type is what? Float. Either you can write down 4 point. You unable to include the decimal part, it will treat it by like this. Don't worry. 4.0. You can also represent, you can also ignore the value before the decimal part like this, 0.2. So it is treated as what? 0.2. Here you can see that 0.4E7. It means before decimal point there is 7 values: 1, 10, 100, 10,000, lakh, 10 lakh, and crore. So here you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 0, and after that 4 is put over here. Clear? So I think it is very clear to you. Again, I am going to show you with the practical approach. Now B is equal to 3.14. Okay, this is the value of pi. Now, what is the type of B? It should print float here. You can see that. Okay, now move on further. Next example is for complex number. As a mathematics student, you all know that a plus ib, the value represented as a plus ib, is in the form of what? Complex number. But here the representation is little bit different. Like this, you have to use the real part plus imaginary part followed by j variable. In mathematics, you are using I variable, after that imaginary part, but here imaginary part is used before the variable j. Okay, so here you can see that c is equal to 2 plus 3j. Now I am going to use the function type and pass the value c variable. Here you can see that complex class is shown. It means C is an object of class complex. If you use like this as a mathematics, D is equal to 2 plus I4. It will print an error. Here you can say that name error. Okay. So you have to use A plus BJ. Okay, where A is real part and B is an imaginary part. Here I have used isInstance. IsInstance function will take two arguments. First one, then the object, and that object is compared with what? If both the arguments are same, then Boolean value will be represented either true, and if both objects are different, then Boolean value false will be printed. Okay, here you can see that isInstance in bracket, I have to pass on two variables c, comma, complex. Sorry. I have to use like this. So here you can see that value true will be printed. Now again, isInstance A is of integer type, Now I am going to check whether it is float or not. False. False will be printed because A is of type what? Integer. That's why false value will be printed. Clear? So in numbers, there are three types. First one is integer, second one is float, third one is complex. Now move on further. This is the very important one, sequence type. This will discuss separately. In sequence type, there are basically three subtypes. First one is string, second one is list, and third one is tuple. And all these three will be discussed separately in upcoming videos. So here it is just the introduction about the data type string. So the string can be defined as the sequence of characters represented in quotation mark. Here you have to very clear about that. In Python, we can use single quotation, double quote, or triple quote to define a string. Any one of them you can use to define the string. Clear? It represented by the str class. Second thing is to be remembered that in C or C++, there are a data type known as char, C-H-A-R, char, to represent a single character. But here, to represent a single character, you have to use a string. There is no other data type. That's why I have included that point. In Python, there is no character data type. A character is a string of length, what? 1. In example here, str is equal to hello. If I want to know the type of that variable, then you have to use type function. Here you can see that it is of class str. So in the first example, I have used a single quotation. In second example, use double quotation. And in third example, I have used triple quotation. So for triple quotation, you have to be very careful like this. str1 is equal to double quotation, then inverted comma. Sorry, single quotation, then hello. Now I'm going to print str1. So it will print hello. Okay. And if I'm going to type what type of str1, then it should print class str. So you have to use double quotation, and in double quotation, you have to use single quotation. Okay. Clear? If you use str2 is equal to, first of all, single quotation, and in inner part, you use double quotation, then write down something, whatever it is. Now I'm going to print enter class, sorry, type str2. Okay. So both version of triple quotation can be used. Either you can use double quotation, and in double quotation you can use single quotation, or vice versa. Clear? Both are correct. Now the list. In Python, list is just like an array, but The difference is that in an array in C or C++, in array, you can store similar type of data. But here, you can store different collection or different type of data. It is an ordered collection of data, which means there is an indexing. First value is stored in the 0th position, second value stored in 1th position, and so on up to n minus 1 position, just like an array. Clear? List in Python can be created by just placing the sequence inside the square bracket. Whenever you use square bracket, Python treated as that list is going to be created. In Python, there is one more thing, that negative indexing is also possible. You can move or traverse the list from back end to front end also. So in the example, you can see that I created a variable li and 3 value is posted over here. First one is integer, second one is float, and third one is string type. So that can be possible, as I already told you. So here in the second line, I have printed the list. And in the third line, I'm going to know which type of data is it. So this is of class list. Now indexing is also possible. So here you can see that li of 0, so 1 will be fetched and printed. Li of 3, so it will print index error. Why? Because there are only 3 values and 3 values are stored in 0th position, 1th position, and 2nd position. In 3rd position, there is no such value is stored. That's why index out of bound exception, like in Java, there is an exception is generated known as index error. Clear? As I already told that negative indexing is also possible. So if you go through from -1, so Pathak will is minus on the position of -1, 3.4 is on the position of -2, and 1 is located into position -3. So if li of -1, then Pathak will be printed. Okay. Now, moving to the second type of sequence, that is tuple. It is same as list, but representation is different. What it is? In list, you are using the square bracket, but here you are using what? Parenthesis. The second difference is that in list, you can change the value of stored data, but in tuple, data are immutable. Once created, you cannot change it. That's why I have written over here, tuples once created cannot be modified anymore. Okay? Clear? So here you can see that I have created a tuple, value is same as list. In the second line, I have printed the tuple value. Tuple in position 1th position, it will print 3.4 because indexing starts with 0. So second item is to be printed on position 1. Now, I'm going to change the value of 0th position here. As I discussed, I told you that data cannot be changed in tuple. So whenever I am trying to do that, an exception will be generated, and that exception is type error. What it is? Tuple object does not support item assignment. Thus, we cannot assign any another value to the stored value. Again, negative indexing is possible, so you can use it. So I am going to show you the basic difference between list and tuple. So li is equal to, I'm going to create the value 1, 2, 3. That's all. Now tuple is equal to 4, 5, 6. Clear? Now, in list, I can change the value. Here you can see that li of 1. So li of 1 is what? Right now, that is 2. Here you can see that 2. Now I am going to change that. Li of 1 is equal to 10. Yeah, let us say 20. So there is no such error. It means this line is executed successfully. So I'm going to print the list again. You can see that value is updated 1, 20, and 3. But same thing cannot be happened with tuple. How? You can see here. I'm going to show you tuple of 1th position. It will show 5. Now I'm going to change. I'm going to try to change the value of tuple on position 1th position, and I'm going to print 50. Now it will generate an exception. Here, sorry, tuple is also of which type? List type. Here you can see that I have used mistakenly the square bracket. I have to create the tuple. What is to be used? I have to use parenthesis. Now again I am going to change tu is equal to parenthesis. In parenthesis I have to supply the value 4, 5, 6. Now tuple is generated. Now tuple of 1th position is what? 5. Now I am going to try again. I have to supply tuple of 1th position is equal to 50. Then it should generate an exception. Here you can see that. Clear? In the above example, I have created the list. Here you can see that square bracket is used. But for creating the tuple, what is to be used? Parenthesis. Clear? So move on further. So that's all from sequence type. In sequence type, there are 3 things. First one is string, second one is list, and third one is tuple. You have to be very clear about what is the difference between tuple and what? List. There are basically 2 differences. To create the list, you have to use bracket, square bracket, and to create the tuple, you have to use parenthesis. The second difference is that list is mutable and tuple is immutable. Clear? Mutable means you can modify, you can change the value of the list. But in tuple, you cannot modify or change the value of the tuple. That's all. Now, move on further. Next topic is dictionary, or next data type is dictionary. As the name suggests, dictionary is an unordered collection of key value pair. First of all, it is unordered. So there is no indexing. Data can be stored with the help of key value pair. So first of all, you have to define a particular key, and based on that key, you have to supply the value. So whenever I have to fetch the value other than the indexing, we have to use key to fetch the data. Clear? Here you can see that. Variable name. And second thing, to create the dictionary, you have to use what? Curly braces. Okay? And you have to supply colon between key value pair. And if you want to store more than one data, then comma is to be used, just like list or tuple. So here I have stored two values. First one is 1 hi, second one is 2 hello, and 3 is third value is also stored 3 namaste. Okay. So here you can see that type is of dict class. Now how to fetch? With the help of key. So I supplied what? Key 1. So on key 1, hi is stored. Key 4, there is an error, key error, because 4 key is not present here. Only 1, 2, 3 keys are presented over here. Second thing, dictionary keys are case sensitive. Okay. Same name, but different cases of keys will be treated distinctly. Okay. Both are the different one. And the last thing is also that there is no need that you have to supply the same type of key. You can supply any type of key, either string or float or integer. Here you can see that I have created a variable dict2 and supply first one key as 1, and here hello is the another key. Okay. Now I'm going to show you for the case sensitivity. So dict1 is equal to, I have to use what? Curly braces, and in curly braces I have to use same name with the key, but first one is in lower order, lowercase, and another one is in uppercase. So what will happen? We will see. So first of all, hi in small letter, it should print small letters. Okay. Now I am going to store second value, and second value is again of string type, but now in capital letter hi, hi, and it will print capital letters. So if I try to show you the type of dict1, so it should print dictionary, dict. Okay. So it is very clear. Now I'm going to fetch the value, and Fetching of data is based on key, not index. So again, what is to be done? Dict 1 in 1, I have to supply what? Hi. So it should print small letters. Sorry, dict is no variable. I have created dict 1. Dict 1. In dict 1, I have to supply the key. What it is? Hi, small in small letters. Here you can see that. Value is successfully fetched. Now I am going to try to fetch the data of key hi, which is written in capital letters. Again, unable to fetch. Why? Because I did not use the correct variable name, dict1. So here you can see that. Now I am going to try the second one. First letter is small and second letter is in capital letter. So there is no such type of key. So it will print error. Here you can see that there is a key error. Hi is not present. So I think it is very clear to you what is dictionary, and at last, where you can use dictionary. Whenever you need to store huge amount of data, then go for dictionary. It is very important to know that whenever you use dictionary, then it is very feasible to fetch or store that data in a huge amount of database. So move on further. Next one is set. In mathematics, you know that in set, you can store only a unique data items. If you try to store repeated items, then it will take the single data item from the repeated items. It is also an unordered collection of data. That's why you cannot use the indexing. So here, set is an unordered collection of unique items. It is iterable, mutable, and has no duplicate elements. So what it means? First of all, iterable. Iterable means if you want to fetch the data, you have to use the looping. Here you can see that. I use for. So whenever the set is used, one by one, the value of set is transferred to variable I, and that value will be printed over here. You cannot use what? Indexing, because it is an unordered list. That's why here an error is displayed. Second thing is mutable. It means you can change the value of set. Third thing is no duplicacy is allowed in the set. So here you can see that I am trying to store 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 4, single time 4. But when I try to print the value, a single value is printed for 2 as well as single value 3 is printed. So in set, duplicacy is not allowed. So three things you have to remember in set. First one is it is iterable. Second one is it is mutable. And third one is it can store only unique items. Okay. And the last data type is Boolean. As you all know that Boolean has two values, 0 or 1. But here in Python, there is no such thing 0 or 1. There is true and false. And true and false, the first character is of in capital letter T and F. That's why I have written over here that true and false with capital letter T and F are valid Boolean. Otherwise, Python will throw an error. So here you can see that I have written false in small letter, so it will print an error. This is of class bool. Okay. So that's all from data types. We learned basic data types. Now, what is the difference between mutable and immutable? Already discussed, just going to revise that. Immutable objects can be modified. In immutable, objects cannot be modified. Some examples are list, set, dictionaries are mutable. You can change the value. Numbers, string, and tuples are immutable. Here, examples are listed. I already discussed, so moving further. Now, the next topic is very important. That is typecasting, or you can say that type conversion. Sometimes you need to convert the type of one data to another type. So how in Python, you can convert one data type into another data type. And this process is known as type conversion. Okay. The process of converting the value of one data type to another data type is known as type conversion. And type conversion is of two types. First one is implicit. Second one is explicit. Implicit means this is done by the Python interpreter automatically. But in explicit, user have to perform it specifically. That's why explicit type conversion is also known as typecasting. So I'm going to discuss implicit type conversion. In implicit type conversion, Python automatically converts one data type to another data type whenever Python think that it is needed one. Okay. So in this process, there is no such user involvement is needed. Here you can see that the example. There is a variable a, value is 10, so a is of type integer. B is equal to 5.0, so B is of type float. Now I am going to add that value a plus b and stored it into C. So here you can see that 15.0 will be printed. So if I try to print the type of C, so it should print float. Why? Because in the calculation of a plus b, a is of integer type, it is implicitly converted into float point. and float point plus float point answer will be in floating point, and it is given to the variable c. So it becomes float. So this is done implicitly by the interpreter of Python. So here you have to remember that Python always converts smaller data type into larger data type to prevent the loss of data. Data should not be wasted. Now, what is explicit type conversion? The data type is manually changed by the user as per their requirement. But in explicit type conversion, there is a possibility of data loss. As we know that typecasting is also known, typecasting is the another name of explicit type conversion. Okay, there are some inbuilt Python function for explicit type conversion. So I'm going to discuss few of them, which is important for 11th class students. First one is int. If you want to convert any value into integer type, you have to supply two arguments. First one is the variable which want to be converted, which is needed to be converted, and the base, either binary number or octal number or hexadecimal or decimal. Okay, so here you can see the example. I have taken a string value 100 into variable A. Now I want to convert this string 100 into integer type 100. Okay. In first thing, I want to convert it into what? In binary number. And in the second case, I want to convert it into decimal number. So whenever I want to convert it into decimal number, it shows 100. Okay. It is very simple. But whenever I want to convert it into binary number, then 100 is converted, is treated like 0 and 1, and then this value is converted into decimal. So you already know the value of 0 is printed 00, value of 1 is printed as 01, value of 2 is printed 10, value of 3 is printed 11, and value of 4 is printed 100. That's why 4 is printed. Clear? Now, second one is float. This function is used to convert any data type to floating point number. Next one is tuple. This function is used to convert to tuple, set, and the same thing is done with the list. Here I have taken a variable of string type. Here you can see that A is the variable of str type. Now I want to convert it into tuple. Here, if you see the value, then this string is bifurcated into single character, and these single characters are represented as individual items in tuples. Here you can see that P is first item, second, third, and so on. Again, I'm going to convert it a string into set. So you know that in set there is no duplicacy of data. So in Pathak, you can see that A is repeated 2 times. So it should print only 1 time A. Here you can see that. P is printed, H is printed, A is printed only 1 time, then T, then K. And in the last, list is created. So I have to use list and pass the argument A. So list is created just like tuple. Okay. So that's all for type conversion. Typecasting is very important for examination purpose. Now I am going to discuss a small thing. What is statement? A statement is an instruction that a Python interpreter can execute. Statement can be anything. Okay, like A is equal to 10. It is an assignment statement. There are another kinds of statements such as if statement, for statements, while statement, and many more. If you want to use multi-lines, then you have to use what? Line continuation character, that is backward slash. So if you use 1 plus 2 plus, then you want to write down the next operator and operands in the next line, then you can use the backward slash. Now again and again. Then if you print the value, all the addition of these 6 items, and then the addition is printed. Clear? The next topic is input and output statement. Sometimes a user might want to take user input from the keyboard. For this, you can use input function. Simply, you have to use input, pass on the message, and whatever the value is given are treated as string and given to the variable. Okay, that's why I have written over here. Python takes all the inputs as a string input by default. And if you want to convert it, I already discussed how to convert the string value into various other data items. You can use it explicitly. Okay. Now, Python provides the print function to display the output. Here you have to know about the syntax of the print function. As of now, you know that whatever the variable are passed, the value of that variable is printed simply in print. So value is to be passed. But other than this, there is also some other arguments. But all these arguments are optional. First one is separator. If you want to separate various data items with some specific symbol, then you can use SEP equal to whatever the value is given over here. Next one is AND. AND represents new line character. Okay. If you want to print the value from the file, then you can use the argument file. Here you can see that an object with a write method. Okay, if you want to store that output to the particular file. if you don't want to print the output to the monitor. By default value is sys.stdout. That's why all the output is shown on the monitor. But if you want to store that output on the file, then you have to supply the value. Next one is flush. Flush is used if you want to clear the buffer value. If you want to clear the buffer value, then you have to supply the value true. By default value is false. Clear? Okay. So I'm going to show you with example. Now name equal to hi, hello, everyone. How are you? How are you? Okay. Now this string variable is created. Now I'm going to print. If I print simply, so the essential value is to be passed. What it is? Name. So it will print the whole thing. Now I want to something else like this. You can see here. First argument is passed, that is value. Now I want to use separator. Separator is what? Space. Okay. Whenever you see the space in the string, you treated the next value as the second element. So here you can see that nothing will be printed. I'm going to show you again. Print name comma separator is equal to inverted comma space. Now and equal to what? New line. Nothing is happening. In separator, specify how to separate the object if there is more than one. Okay. So something went wrong. I will discuss later on. Okay. Now move on further. If you want to format the output, then format function is used. The curly braces is used for placeholders. In C, you are using %d for what? To store or to represent integer, %f for floating, and so on. So just like that. A equal to 20, B equal to 10. Print the value of A is curly braces and B is curly braces. Dot format AB. So A will be printed in the first curly braces, B will be printed in the second braces. If you want to look the output like this. Now I am going to show you. Name equal to, sorry, A equal to 10, B equal to 20. Okay. Now I am going to print the value of A is curly braces closed, and value of B is curly braces closed. Now I have to use function with followed by dot. Dot format, what is to be supplied? A comma B. So here you can see that. Here I have not written the value, just use the placeholder curly braces. And based on the function format, A value is given over here, B value is given over here. Clear? Now, what are the expression? Expression, as you all know, that it is the combination of operators and operands. So here you can see that x is equal to x plus 10. Okay. And these expressions are computed based on precedence operator and associativity that I already discussed in the previous lecture of operators in Python. So that's all for today. Today we learned about what is data types, what are the various types of data types in Python, what is type conversion, and at last, what is statement and expression in Python. In the next class, we will start control statements, where we learn if else in detail. Thank you so much.